Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by one of the UK's rising stars in CrossFit and hybrid fitness, Jennifer Muir. She's fresh off competing at the CrossFit Games this year. She's taken on the World Fitness Project and she's lined up at the Hyrox World Championships as well. She is the definition in our eyes of a hybrid athlete, balancing elite performance across multiple arenas. And we really can't wait to dive into your training, mindset, and how she's pushing the limits in CrossFit and fitness racing at the same time. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it. Thanks for joining us, Jennifer.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is a slightly different take on it. I feel like you're a hardcore CrossFitter, so we
I know I just called you a hybrid athlete. I'm like, oh,
we're trying to get that hybrid in there, but I mean, going to the CrossFit Games means you're definitely a hardcore CrossFitter. But you just touched on there before we went live that you're having a little bit of downtime at the moment. It's obviously been a crazy year for you. Has it been nice to switch off after? I mean, you just did the hybrid games, didn't you? So you haven't really switched off, but yeah, how's the last couple of weeks been?
Yeah, it's been really fun. Like, I guess like not having to like every morning we'll kind of open our phones and have a program there to follow, and I've not had anything in there, so it's just kind of been like wandering into the gym, seeing what people are doing, and jumping in with like the most fun workout that sounds fun to me. Um, But yeah, I actually had to message my coach like a couple of days ago and was like, I think you should take over now because I just keep sending workouts and absolutely ending myself. Like I've not like done any bodybuilding or like gentle running or anything. It's all been like the workouts I jump in on are like the 30-minute AMRAPs where you just like sending it for 30 minutes with my partner. So I was like, yeah, this probably isn't the downtime that we either of us had planned. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't be left to my own devices anymore.
it's so funny, isn't it? It's almost like sometimes people that are so like driven need a coach to almost hold them back because otherwise you will
Yeah.
just bury yourself every time you go to the gym.
Yeah, and I think like the type of training that I enjoy, and I think that's why like I dip into Hyrox every so often in like the hybrid games is like that kind of big long air piece. Um with like, we don't mind a wee bit of running, but it's definitely not a runner. But yeah, that kind of like big long air pace is like gets you really sweaty and your heart rate up, and then you leave feeling like you've done a really hard workout. That's the type of stuff that I enjoy. So yeah, when I've had like downtime, that's basically all I've done every day.
Yeah, love that. So where did this journey start for you, like getting into CrossFit? I mean, how many years have you been training now for, like, specifically that, and I guess working towards the CrossFit Games, which you were at this year?
Yeah, so I started CrossFit just out of lockdown. So this is my fourth year going on to my fifth. Um, but I've trained my whole life, so I had like a good kind of training background. I started in swimming at like the age of 9, and I'm second of four, but my older brother, there's only a year and 5 months between us, so like everything he did, I did, and he's an incredible swimmer. So we were both in swimming, and I loved swimming because I love sport and I love training, I love competing, but I always knew it wasn't really the sport for me. Like he, kind of has his eyes on commies and like that Olympic pathway, whereas I was never like there's no way. I was quite realistic. There was no way that I was ever going to get there with swimming. Like I was good, but not like his level of good. So when I got to like age 14, 15, with swimming, you kind of do like land training. So like running and press ups, pull ups, and you'll maybe do that like once, twice a week. And I loved that stuff. So I was quite naturally just like good at running. And back then, when I'd competed in swimming triathlon, I was like 25 kilos lighter than I am now. So it was a lot easier and probably why I enjoyed running. So the Scottish triathlon tryouts came out like for the Scotland team, and I'd never done a triathlon, but I was naturally good at running, and I got a bike off of Gumtree 3 days before the trials, um, and turned up and made the team. So then I competed in triathlon for like the next year and a half, 2 years after that. Um, And then that kind of led into like my hires at school, and I fell away from sport completely because like triathlon is so difficult. It's kind of like CrossFit in terms of like the length that you spend training for it is quite a lot. So like if we're in the gym like 4 to 6 hours a day, like triathlon, you're on the bike for an hour, you're running for an hour, you're swimming for an hour and a half, and you're doing that near enough every day. So trying to fit that in with like hires at school, I just completely fell away from it, which I wish I never did, but I guess in hindsight, it's all kind of worked out. Um, so did my hires at school, and then when I went to uni, I was like, and like I went from like basically competitive training to like cold turkey nothing. And I was like, I need to get back to some sort of training. Like I didn't really feel like myself. And I just joined the gym. And there was like a group of powerlifters there that were like, oh, you're quite naturally strong. You should try powerlifting. So then I competed in powerlifting for like a year and a half, and that's when lockdown hit. So that kind of takes me up to like my CrossFit journey. So when lockdown hit, I just had loads of time again. Like powerlifting's not demanding in like the training hours. You kind of train like 4 or 5 times a week, just like one session. Like normal, probably normal training regime. And I had loads of time, so I just got back out on my bike, started running again. Scotland's obviously really good for locks, so me and my brother were going open water swimming. And yeah, after lockdown like finished, my friend was like, "You've got this like endurance base and strength base now, like you should try CrossFit." So I had no social media. I hadn't even heard of CrossFit, didn't even know it existed. So it was like a whole new world for me when she told me about it. And there was literally like when I was staying at my mum's, the gym's 400 meters from my mum's house.
Oh wow.
So yeah, just joined and that's that.
I mean, you really are like hybrid athlete, aren't you? Like,
See, I said
yeah,
hybrid athlete.
like
I even said to Emma, I was like before, I was like, I'm sure like Jennifer only did her first like CrossFit competition in like 2021, like scale
Yeah.
cross.
Yeah.
Like that is actually mind blowing. And you were at the CrossFit Games this year.
Thanks.
Like that's
it's
just
such,
crazy.
yeah, like for, I guess for how complex, I think one of the things that
Yeah.
everyone kind of brings up and says is obviously CrossFit is so complex. There's so many movements, so many skills to master. There's the strength, there's the endurance, like it's everything. To only have like been in it for such a short period of time, like 4 years, 5 years, like it's really not very long, like in the grand
What was
scheme of things.
what was the hardest skill to because like obviously you might have done it. Did you do gymnastics as a child? Because I feel like
No.
if you haven't thrown that one in there, like walking on your hands, doing all
Yeah.
I guess the strength stuff like the bar muscle ups and stuff you can work on, but like what was the hardest skill to learn for CrossFit to get really good at enough to be able to compete in it?
Yeah, so the one thing I still struggle with is like pressing gymnastics. So like being upside down with like strict handstand push-ups, because the standard is like you have to have your hands on, it's like a 30-inch line. So someone who's quite tall and super long limbed like myself really struggles with it. So they're like a work in progress. Like in the field, it's hard because to me I'm so bad at them. But that's because I guess I'm now comparing myself against like the top 30 in the world. So when they come up, like I know I'm taking last when they come up. But I'm taking last out of like the top 30 in the world. So I need to keep kind of like reminding myself that. Because when they come up, like obviously the first thing you want to do is be like, oh, and like you're automatically like annoyed about it. And like CrossFit, unlike any other sport, like you know what you're training for, you know what you're going into. So I guess like as an athlete, one of the things like mentally that's been tough is, you know, you're when you go into a competition like from swimming, like I would either swim a fast time or I would swim a slow time, and that would be my performance. Whereas my performance can be totally dictated by what comes up. So if strict handstand push-ups don't come up, I can be like right up there. They do come up, I'm like middle of the pack, you know? So it's hard to not mentally like put like the performance put where you are as an athlete. Because At some events, I might be like a top 5 athlete. At other events, I'm like a top 20 athlete. So you really are like dependent with like the luck of what comes up in CrossFit.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's so true. And do you think it's I mean, this is probably a hard question, but like you've done a few sports. Do you think it's your favorite because it's varied, or is that why you've kind of stuck with it? Because I think the trend seemed to be I competed for a year and a half in this, and then I
Yeah.
competed for a year and a half in this.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you're gonna do something else next year, but like, is the variety what's made you stick with it?
Yeah, 100%. Like when I was a kid, when I was just in swimming, if like my mum had the scope to take me to every sport and try out every sport, I would have been doing that. But yeah, like it's 100% because I'd never like I never thought I was good at just like the one thing. I was good at like kind of picking up things quite quickly and then getting quite good at the thing that I'd just learned. And I loved learning new things as well. So like once I'd learned something, I was like, right, what's next? I want to learn something else. So I do love that about CrossFit. And even though like you do kind of learn all the movements, they always bring in something new as well. So you've never really learned all the movements.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy, isn't it? I mean, just the fact, I think going into a competition and you saying like you don't know what you're actually going to do, and there's such a like broad like variation of movements and skills that you need for CrossFit. So you can train as well as you think you can, and then you turn up and they might throw in something totally new.
Yeah.
Versus like a lot of the listeners, and we started off with like Hyrox, I guess, in fitness racing. You kind of know what you're going to get in fitness racing. There's never going to be a crazy skill. They're never going to get you to walk on your hands or like
Yeah.
throw in something totally random. It's probably going to be erg based, strength based, or maybe you might have a barbell in some competitions. Do you like, because obviously you've raced Hyrox as well as CrossFit, do you like turning up to something knowing that you know what you're going to do and how to prepare for it, or do you prefer to turn up to something like the CrossFit Games and just be like, I'm ready for anything? Can you prefer that style of competition?
So I feel like in CrossFit, there's been like quite a lot of talks about this right now with like kind of like the athlete safety and stuff like that. I think when I first joined, I was quite happy to turn up to competitions and jump in and whatever they kind of threw at you. But I think now having it as a career, like your career's kind of dictated on those performances. So to turn up to a competition and like one examples was the CrossFit Games a couple years ago, and the athletes had like single unders to do, and a lot of athletes couldn't do it, and it kind of came down to like, did you skip at school as a kid? Did you not? And it's funny now because like years past that, all the athletes can do them, and it's cool to see like the kind of athlete development. But I guess for those athletes when they competed that year, like a lot of those athletes could have lost sponsorship deals and maybe not got sponsorship deals because of their performance at the CrossFit Games. Um, so I think now that it's a career in like athlete safety and stuff, I think it would be better, and I think they're kind of pushing towards this. If like there was a book of movements and these are the only movements that you'll ever be tested on, but they can be paired with like that's the variety that stays with CrossFit, is they can be paired with any one of them within that book. The rep schemes can change, the distance can change, the weights can change, and that would keep like the variety of CrossFit. Like you still don't know what you're doing, but you're not going to be flung this new skill that doesn't actually test your athletic ability. It's kind of like, yeah, did you skip at school or stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I think when I first joined it was fine to kind of turn up, but now that it's a career, I think it is really important that you at least know the movements you're going to be doing, so that yeah, you can train them within like the year cycles of the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, doesn't it? It's kind of the best of both worlds. You're not going to get
Yeah,
like a massive shock, but you also don't really know what's coming up, so you still have
yeah.
to train for everything. Yeah, fair. And did you know anything? I think you knew some other workouts going into the CrossFit Games this year, didn't you? But not all of them.
Yeah, so we knew, I think we knew 4 or 5 going in.
Okay.
They released them some earlier than others. Maybe like I think the first one was maybe released like a month before.
Yeah.
And then they kind of got released like week by week after that. So like the one that maybe gets released like a couple of days before the comp, like you know it, but none of those athletes will have been able to test it. So, and we're all in the same boat, which is good. But yeah, they did, for example, I think usually at the final they tell you the final like right before you go out on the floor. But this year they told us the night before the final. Which still isn't much time, but it was nice to have a heads up. Like even mentally, you kind of know what you're preparing for. And like I think as well, you kind of then know how like your competition may or may not end. Like for example, if that last workout was strict handstand and push-ups, but
so then
yeah.
is it good to know, or like would you prefer to have a good night's sleep and just rock up and be naive to it?
I think it's nice just to be mentally prepared, because like if they told me it was strict handstand and push-ups right before I went on the floor, I would have been like, get me out of here, like
where's the exit?
Yeah, where's the exit? My competition was done last event, like I'm done. So yeah, I think it is always nice to know.
And how do you juggle everything, like all the training? Like how do you program to fit everything into your day and your recovery? And then I mean, you did take on like the Hyrox World Champs as well, so did you have any sort of like focus on running at any point? Or I mean, I know they released the workout, didn't they, and that probably was in your favor when it was the row, was it? Yeah, I think. Yeah. So how do you kind of structure it all, fit it all in, and stay motivated as well to keep training every day?
Yeah, like I'm really lucky now that it's my job. So like I do now have the time to put all that effort into training and recovery and nutrition and stuff. But like when I finished uni, I was supposed to go and be a PE teacher. And because I wanted to do CrossFit and compete in CrossFit, and I wanted like time to try that, I became like a PT and a CrossFit coach. So that allowed me to kind of have like flexible hours so that like I could put my hours around training. Because with CrossFit gyms, because classes run most of the day, you actually can't really get into the CrossFit side. Like you can't go any time of the day. So like our open gym times are from like 8 to 9:30, and then 3 to 4:30. Like there's specific times to actually get in. So I was lucky when I came out of uni and did PET and CrossFit coaching that I was able to be flexible around those hours. But then that was also really good because unlike every other sport, where like, when I came from swimming, like we had like a structured session. So like, it was 7 till 8:30 at night. And if you turned up and the coach wasn't there, nobody would get in the pool. So whereas CrossFit, I'm like totally dictating my own routine, and my own sessions are like the length of my sessions. If I sit and get caught up on my phone, like that session takes 3 hours instead of 2.5. Like, so you're totally like you're just responding to yourself. You're just answering like to yourself. So those kind of open gym times are actually like a blessing in disguise because they give me like a structured training routine, which I did find hard coming from like coached sport to then basically being in the gym yourself, and you're kind of dictating that yourself. And I think as well, maybe as CrossFit starts to progress and they maybe have like coached clubs and stuff like that, I think even you'll find like the level of athlete like skyrocket, because the amount of times I've been like practicing something and sending videos to my coach, and like neither of us can really figure out what I'm doing wrong, and then I see him in person and it's immediately fixed. So I think when CrossFit does get to the point where they can have like coach sessions and clubs, like the sport will go like even like the level of athlete will grow even more.
And do you train with anybody else at the gym, or do you do most of your training on your own, or
fully by myself?
Fully by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that is quite hard when you're like doing a lot of like skill and like the like Olympic lifting and stuff like that. Like even just to get some feedback when you're, I don't know, snatching crazy amounts above your head and stuff like that.
I was quite excited for like my 3 weeks off because the members, like we're really lucky at our gym. well, no one really competes. Everybody's there for like fitness, and they're super supportive of me. There's no there's no really like competition in the gym. It's really friendly, and everybody's really supportive of one another. And when all year they've been like, when are you going to jump in a class? And I've been like,
Oh,
during my off time, I will jump in my class. And I did like 2 classes, and they were like, yeah, leave. We don't want you here anymore. Get out.
is everyone trying to keep up with you? And like,
Yeah. They were like, yeah, go back to open gym. We don't want you in the
Yeah.
class. I was like, oh.
It is like that environment though. I guess you must miss a little bit, because you do have to be so disciplined to do your training, fit everything in. You know, you've got so much, like, I guess, to tick off each week and do all the skills and the lifts and etc etc. Like, yeah, to be able to motivate yourself and get yourself there every day and tick through it, like, it's a long season, isn't it? I mean, how long were you, I guess, in the preparation for, or how long have you kind of been in a structured plan until now? You've said you've had this couple of weeks off.
Yeah, so like this year has been crazy. So like previous years, you kind of have like your full, like, there's like a structure to the season. So like when the open comes around, that's when it starts to become a lot more CrossFitty. But like kind of over the summer and these months, you're more like strength training and more like erg training. So you know, it might be like 5 times 1K repeats on the ergs for like your conditioning, instead of like doing a CrossFit workout necessarily. And then when it gets to like that open time, that's when that all starts to be reintroduced. But this year, because obviously World Fitness Project came out and the game season, and for someone like me who hadn't made the games yet, I didn't want to put all my eggs in the basket of the games, not make it, and then not have a competitive season. So I did both, and it's just been mental. Like, I've done CrossFit the whole year. There's been no strength training. It's just been strength training and like metcons. So it's just been like be kind of comp ready all year, which has been mental, but I have really enjoyed it, to be fair. But I can see, like, if I don't get into kind of like a strength block or a conditioning block, how that might start to affect my performance. So quite excited to get like back into it. But even then, like, the season's not done. We've got like the World Fitness Project finals in December. So we've got that to prep for. But yeah, I think next year I'll maybe kind of focus on either one or the other, because we've done everything this year. Even Hyrox, we did the Hyrox season as well. So like, yeah, it's just been crazy.
That is, I mean, that is a lot to fit in, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
it's actually mental. How do you? I've got 2 questions. First, I was going to ask about recovery, but I'll park that for a second, like in between it, and stay injury free, because I think that's quite a big thing, especially when you're taking on a lot, and everyone in the hybrid world right now is trying to do every race, and you know, they're doing ultras and they're trying a CrossFit comp, and then they're doing Hyrox. So staying injury free and like being able to recover is like a big thing. But before I touch on that, I think we need to go back to CrossFit Games. Like, what was it like doing your first ever CrossFit Games, and like competing against Tia, who obviously she won number 8, which is
Yeah.
just actually incredible. And yeah, it just seemed like such a great games this year. It was so cool to watch. But how was it
Oh,
like
thanks.
turning up, you know, getting your t-shirt with your name on and doing all that stuff? Was it just like completely surreal?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, the amount of kit and stuff we got as well, like the amount of goodies we got, like, it's just like, it's like an athlete's Christmas. It's just so cool.
I love it how everyone loves free kit, don't they? Everyone's
Yeah.
like buzzing for it.
Yeah, it was just so cool. And then like we like being like an Adidas athlete, we had the support of Adidas when we're there, and like they make it so cool as well. So like they had like a kind of like an athlete place for everyone to come back to. My friends, my family got to come back to. So you kind of feel like you're like on a competitive holiday. It's just so fun. We
Love
had
it.
we had a great time. My mum and that they came. My mum's been like, since I started the sport, she's been like, oh, I'm saving up for you to go to the games. So like she was like, soon as I found out I was going, she was like booking everything. But bless them, they got delayed like a full day, so they missed the Friday of the games. But yes, they just had a great time. They go like full Scottish tat. They get all like tartan bows, tartan flags. Like
Love that.
they just go mental with it. So, and my two best friends came as well. So, yeah, I was super fortunate. It was such a it was the best experience that I probably could have had. The only downside was I got really sick just before it.
Yes.
I think COVID was maybe going about again because when I got home, members of the gym were like, "Oh yeah, I had COVID the week before you went." I was like, "Oh, brilliant! Thanks for telling me."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think apart from that, like I think the adrenaline when I came home like from the events per day, I was like, I feel terrible. But when I got onto the floor, like I didn't feel too terrible. I think the adrenaline kind of takes over. The only one I would say like I really felt my performance affected on was we had to wear like a weighted vest and then there was like a 2 minute rest and he took it off and went into another one and I just couldn't breathe with that vest on with like I had like a chest infection. So then when we had to take it off and we only had 2 minutes before the next one, I was like, well, there's 200 points down the drain because I'm not recovered and I feel like death. So but apart from that, it was great.
Yeah,
Man,
savage. And
that
do
is
you
savage.
like? Sorry, I'm gonna ask questions now. Then we can go on to your recovery.
I just said it so I didn't
So we
forget it
don't
because I
forget.
thought
Yeah,
that was all. We can come on to it at the end of the podcast.
We'll still be here 2 hours later. No. Do you get nervous, or does it kind of wear off because you do so many events? I don't know. Does it like become normal to go out, or do you still get nervous every time you go on the floor?
I actually like everybody asks me that. I genuinely don't get nervous, and I don't know if that's if that's a bad thing. I would get more nervous for like public speaking than I would going out and doing CrossFit at the games. Like I think because like I'm out there kind of doing what I love, and I guess maybe it's different for like the stage that I'm in. So like my goal this year was to qualify for the games. So then anything at the games was kind of a bonus. But like my friend Lucy, she came second at the game. She's an incredible
Yeah.
athlete. But she's always like, "Oh, I'm nervous for this." And I look at her and I'm like, "How are you nervous? Like you are gonna smash this. I don't get it." But maybe when you've got that expectation on you, that's maybe like when the nerves come more. Because obviously she knows she's good enough to get podium. So yeah, maybe if I'm ever in fighting contention for podium, guys, I will be hella nervous. But right now, I was just happy to be there. I was just super excited to like go out and do what I do at the biggest stage of the sport. So yeah, not right now, but I'll come back to you maybe in a few years.
Yeah, I mean it's so nice to hear though, and this is like one of the big things that we talk about is like enjoying the process. And I think like you've just nailed it. You like absolutely love what you do, you love the training, you love the sport, and you just are enjoying being at, you've set your goals like really smartly, where you didn't go, oh, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games and try and pip tier to 8th title. You were really realistic about it, and like just getting to the CrossFit Games is like unreal, like actually unreal. People just want to make it through the open, don't they? Or just get the amount of people that enter the open just to get like to better their PB, let alone no one really even thinks about going to the CrossFit Games, the majority of people. So like that, just to get to that and enjoy the process and just take the games in. It feels like you really did take it in and enjoy it for what it was.
Yeah, I think like that's probably why a lot of people give CrossFit up actually, is because I think they maybe see like maybe people like me who've been in it for 4 years and are at the games. But like what they've not seen is like, if you look at like that triangle of fitness, like metabolic conditions, like the biggest base at the bottom. And I have spent years like from the age of 9 building that up. So I think when they start CrossFit and then they maybe set a goal like too crazy without actually realizing how much there is involved in CrossFit, and then they think, that goal gets further and further away and they end up giving up. But like, yeah, my advice to people would be is like when I started, I just set like tiny realistic goals. So like the first one was I competed in like the open quarterfinals And then from quarterfinals, I've seen where I was on that leaderboard. I think I was 95th for my first year. So then realistically for me, the second year was, and because I was still kind of getting like beginner gains, semi-finals was top 60. So realistically to me, 95th to 60 was a realistic goal because I'd only been in it a couple months. So I was like, I can definitely climb that with a full year's training. And as I say, I was still learning. I had loads to learn, so I was still getting all those beginner gains. And then I just competed at semi-finals, seeing where I was at semi-finals, and then that set the goal for next year and so on. So like, although I kind of had like that obviously big goal of CrossFit Games, like there was loads of mini goals in between to get there. And when you achieve those mini goals, like I remember when I first made semi-finals, like it felt like I'd made the CrossFit Games. So like, because that again was a realistic goal for me at that time. So yeah, I think like a good piece of advice would be just to set like mini realistic goals, and then the big goal will seem way more achievable after each mini goal that you tick off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you said like beginner gains there, and that's probably like quite a big thing, you know, for everything. I think maybe like people do start training in something, whether they specifically start a run plan to get faster, or they start CrossFit and then they like start to get the skills and get stronger. And like how once that phase wears off and everyone kind of plateaus a little bit, how do you keep the like, it's not motivation, it's more how do you not get frustrated? Yeah, I think a lot of people then do get frustrated and give up. Is it just by like focusing on one thing and aiming for that, or do you just kind of, yeah, how do you make the next little gains? Because it must be hard now for you to still see like gains. Everything goes so small, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think like when you get to kind of that plateau kind of with performance, you start looking at everything else that you can do. So like even from like a competitive point. So for example, at World Fitness Project there, me and Ella, like Ella who I do Hyrox with, she's a better runner than I am, but she was like 3 seconds ahead of me on the run. Like that's all 3 seconds, but that was 3 places. So it's crazy. So when you get to like kind of this field, you are fighting for like seconds, and like seconds can be like 3 places, which is like 12 points. So it's like massive. So I think once you get to that kind of like the performance, there's not much you can maybe do as much with your performance, like to learn and everything like that. You've learned everything and you're now training away and fighting for like kilo PBs and stuff like that. But there's so much like for me, I almost sometimes have to remind myself that like when I'm out there on the floor and I'll see athletes and I'm like, how did they know to do that? Like, how did they know they've made like a really smart strategic move and that's like bumped them up a couple of places. And I'm like, how did they know to do that? And I like almost get like, how did I not know how to do that? But then like these athletes have been like 10 years in the game and I've been 4. So I need to kind of remind myself that like it just comes with experience and stuff like that. So yeah, I think when we start looking to different ways that we can get better. So like a competitive edge, or is there something I can be doing better with my recovery? Is there something better I could be doing with my nutrition? For me, I like focus a lot on like how I move. I'm mechanically not very built for a couple of movements. So like when I snatch, I've got like this really obvious kind of hip shift. And that can like cause a lot of like problems and stuff. So a lot of my training is focused on like how I can move better, and like fixing kind of imbalances and stuff like that. And that in turn is like helped my performance massively. I was struggling with like a lot of knee tendonitis. So as much as like I love the running side stuff and like squatting, I wasn't able to do any of that stuff for the longest time. And then that kind of makes you a bit miserable because obviously it's good to work on your weaknesses, but it's the last thing you want to be doing all day, every day. So yeah, focusing on like moving better has helped me massively with even my performance this year because I'm not in pain doing it. So yeah, that's made a massive difference.
Yeah.
Well, fair. And then I will come to recovery in a minute, but I'm going to ask this question for you, Em, because I've got really short limbs and I'm quite compact, so like, I never really struggle with anything like that, with like long limbs or anything. So I find like, especially like lifting and stuff, because I'm so compact, it just all seems like quite natural to me. But I know, you and like a couple of the others that have got like that we train with, some of the girls and guys that have got really long limbs, it like lifting and some movements are really quite difficult if you're a taller athlete. Do you have any advice to people with long limbs like to like help them?
Help a
Have you
girl
learned
out, come
anything?
on.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like, you're all right when you're on the ergs and stuff, and then I hate you. But then when you pick up a barbell, it's quite nice when you're a bit more compact. Or if you're doing, I don't know, a squat or a wall ball, when you're more compact, it's just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I don't have the legs to get in the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love CrossFit, is because there's stuff that obviously a taller athlete will find harder, but then there's also stuff that a taller athlete will find easier. So like I love pulling movements, so even like strict pulling. I love so like for a legless rope climb, a shorter athlete, they maybe have to be more like this, whereas I'm like, see ya. So just with like rowing better for a taller, like a bigger athlete, all the ergs really, to be honest. You've got more you can put behind. So that's kind of why I love CrossFit, because it does balance out.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, I feel like if you're a taller athlete working on all the stuff that's better for a smaller athlete, just make sure that you've got some fun stuff in there for you that you can still kind of dominate on and have some fun with. Because yeah, just training your weaknesses sucks. It's pretty miserable.
Yeah, because we had the same conversation with Jade Skillen, does Hyrox, because she's really tiny, but she's a powerhouse. And we were like, oh, do you reckon Hyrox is better for a tall athlete or a small athlete? And I feel like CrossFit's probably the same. Like, there's some things that benefit the tall athlete and some things that benefit a smaller, more compact athlete. It's quite funny, isn't it? It's like, and I guess in CrossFit you could have a weekend of competing where you're like, damn, I wish I was taller. Or
Yeah.
you guys where you're like, damn, my legs and my arms are getting in the way.
Yeah. Literally, yeah.
It is really interesting though to see, like, I mean, the range of athletes at the CrossFit Games, like body shapes, heights, like it's crazy. Like everyone does like look different, everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and it's really cool to see that it's not like you have to be in this box to be able to compete at the highest level. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
That's another reason I love it. We were actually having like a good laugh with the girls after the back squat, because at the back squat the two girls, so Miriam and then Annika, they're tiny, and then the guy who won at Colton, he's tiny. And I came second with Annika, and I'm not tiny.
So, yeah.
And they were all like, what on earth? Like, what are you doing back here? Why, like, where did that come from? And even when I was out on the floor, like, the judges were coming up to me and they asked me to pull my knee sleeves down, because they were like, if you got wraps on under your knee sleeves, like, basically, are you cheating? And I was like, no. But like everyone was so shocked to see like a tall athlete doing well in a short person's event.
That's so cool though, isn't it? Like changing the stereotypes. I mean, you must have had like so much further to go down to like compared to everyone else, but that's incredible.
I remember watching that actually, because was there 3 heats?
Yeah. I was in the first heat.
Yeah, I do remember watching that. And then that must be difficult as well, is it? Because you don't then know what you've like kind of set the mark for the other girls to beat, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, because like in hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like I wish I had, like, I knew Miriam's PB was 165. And I hit 161, she hit 163 to take the win. But I wish I'd went for my third lift above her PB. So then, like, for her to win, she would have had to have hit a PB. And if she won then like, absolutely hats off to you, fair enough. But yeah, she won not even hitting her PB. But I had an 11 kilo PB. So like I couldn't have gone out there and been like, I'm gonna have a 17 kilo PB. I think people would have been like, let's be a wee bit
Are
more
you?
realistic. Yeah. So
How long do those beginner gains last?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
4 years? 4 years still okay?
yeah.
11 kilos.
That's mental.
Yeah, and because of my knee tendonitis, like I genuinely hadn't been squatting. I hadn't squatted since February. And when back squat, I always wanted the back squat to come up. And when it came up, I was like, damn it, like the one time I want it to come up, my favorite lift at my first ever CrossFit Games. And I was like, and I've not been training it, like I'm probably not going to do that well. So
well.
going into it, I like had to kind of be like a wee bit conservative, cause like to go into it and be like, oh, I'm gonna try and beat Miriam's PB was probably a bit unrealistic, but in hindsight it would have been
Really
fine.
good.
But
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
hard. It is. It's like there's so much, I guess, that's mind games. Like
yeah, there's like so
and
much strategy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it like it was Danielle Brandon who like missed her first lift? So then they were saying like, oh, you missed your first lift, and then in your head you're like, shit, I need to just get a lift on the board. So you
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
like start too heavy, and you can't, and then your head goes, and it's so how about mental, like keeping your head when something goes wrong or when you're really hurting? Have you got any like tips or tricks like when you're in the hurt locker to keep going, or maybe it's a like handstand push-up workout and you're like, oh, how'd you get your head in the game?
I actually like when it's a weakness, I actually kind of find those ones a wee bit easier because you kind of walk out onto the floor and you're like, you can only do what you can do, like whereas like a good event that you're good at, like when I came off the back squat, I was like, oh, I could have done more there, and you're almost like annoyed at yourself, because it is a strength, and you feel like, yeah, you want to do well at your strengths, but with weaknesses, like I think it's quite easy because you can only do what you can do. So like the one at the CrossFit Games was like the deficit kip and handstand push-ups, and we didn't know the deficit, but all of us kind of practiced with like the standard 6-inch deficit for girls. And then the day before, when we were at briefing, they told us that it was a 10.5-inch deficit. So I had practiced the event doing like 3s and 2s, so with a 6-inch deficit. So I was like 10.5. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do 1. And that workout was called Going Dark because the echo bike at the end. And I was like,
brutal.
I'm not even going to get there, so it's not going to be a very dark workout for me. So
that's the bonus.
So going into that, like it was like a 40 cal to start with, and then you did like a yoke carry. And it was like the easiest 40 calories of my life because there's absolutely no point in me sending it to then not be able to do any handstand push-ups. So I had to obviously do them in singles, and I got through 18 of them, which was out of the 30, which for me is a huge win. But it was like second last. But I can't be mad at it because like that is all I'm capable of, for that movement. So I almost find them a wee bit easier. Like you can't be mad at the outcome. Whereas like the back squat, I was second and I was angry I wasn't first. So like it's and like for the full 24 hours after, Fraser, my partner, heard, God damn it, like we should have done this and we should have done this, and he's like, yep, it's done, shush. Like you've still got 10 other events, like shush. But I feel like when it's a strength, and if it doesn't quite go your way with a strength, you probably take them harder than like the weakness ones.
Yeah, definitely. And then what about for like when you do have to go dark in like, I think was there like a burpee box jump one or something, like one that's like super just send it and suffer, and like it's for time and you've got to just hurt, like do you think about anything, or do you literally just like switch off and suffer?
So I love like a long kind of switch off and suffer, because I can switch off and just like kind of embrace the suffering, and you know, if it's like 15-20 minutes, it's like a good kind of time frame. But the ones that are like the super fast sprint ones, a lot of them can be down to like an athlete's limb lengths. So like if me and you are like doing snatches for time, and you're able to get from A to B a second quicker than I am, then there's like not much you can do. So with those like short suffering ones, I just tell myself like it's going to be over really quickly, and just try and move as fast as I can for the time it's going to take. So like the ones of the games, like I think people were done in like 4 minutes. So it's like 4 minutes of pain and then you're done. So you just try and tell yourself that. And yeah, like the running Isabel one, that was like 3 minutes. So yeah, I just try and tell myself like, you know, when you get back to the bar, I'm like, the quicker you pick this up, the quicker it's done. So yeah. Just
And how would you do it in a how did you find the Hyrox World Champs with the mindset there? Because sometimes I think that with Hyrox, I'm like, oh, the quicker I just get it done, the faster it's over. But it is still like an hour's race, and you do have to like break it down. Do you break it down, or is there somewhere like you're obviously very good at ergs? Do you get to the row and you're like, okay, once I'm at the row, I can have a second? Or
yeah, so with Hyrox, like Ella's the better runner out of the two of us. So we kind of like going into the stronger runner would finish on the station and then go out onto the run. So like with like the hour-long race, we kind of just kind of like, you can break it down quite nicely in your head with a partner, because you know you're gonna get a break at some point. So you're like, right, do my run, and then we'll get to the erg. I did like my first 30 seconds on the ski, and now it's Ella's turn, and then I'll go again, and now it's Ella's turn, and it's quite nice like as a double, because you can break it up. I don't really know how that would be like just to do it as an individual, but with like the run row run one at the games, that was a long one. That was like 50 minutes. But yeah, I think you just kind of break it up stage by stage, because those ones, like if you know the race is going to be 50 minutes, you can't start sending it. Like you physically can't do that. So you get to like a pace that, like a threshold pace that's tough, but you know you can hold it. And then it maybe only starts to hurt towards the end. And at that point, you've come that far, you've done so much of the race that you can kind of hold on. So yeah, I always think like in the long ones, you can like switch off for a good chunk of it, and then towards the end when it starts to hurt, you're nearly there. So you can kind of just hold on and tell yourself like you're nearly there, keep going, and like just kind of like positive wee phrases to get you through the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what were your like running splits? Because I'm intrigued that you can back squat 160. What did you just say? Something ridiculous. And
what is it in
like,
kilos? What was your back squat in kilos?
161 kilos.
Yeah.
That's
like
that's
not actually
pounds.
insane. It's not pounds, that's what I mean. So I'm like, you can back squat 161 kilos. How like fast are you running? Surely like that's mental.
I think like so like my 10K is like 45 minutes. So it's like four and a
That's
half
so
minute
impressive.
kilometer pace. So it's not rapid, but it's not not too slow.
Like
yeah, that's on the fast end of running like a 10K. And also I don't think there's many 10K runners that are running 40-45 minutes, like even 35 to 45 minutes, that can back squat over 100 kilos, over 100, let alone 160.
I know, that's
You know
what I mean. Like I just think it's wild.
And we had a chat, the podcast that's going out just before this one, with Georgie, a girl that does a lot of hybrid fitness, and she said she's learning to muscle up, and she was going to start introducing herself as like, hi, I'm Georgie and I do a muscle up. And we're like, what are you good? Like, Jennifer, hi, I'm Jennifer and I do like 160 back squat, 40 muscle ups in a row, and you know, like it's we were like, just the range of it is crazy for like people that are trying to, I don't know, most people are trying to get 100 kilo deadlift, because that's quite a round, that's probably a really big mark, I'd say, in like fitness right now, especially for females. Everyone's going for like 100-kilo deadlift, and you're just chilling with 160 kilos on your back.
But how do you think the strength does transfer like over to running? Like, do you think your strength helps you like because you've got like the strength in your legs and the power and like strong glutes, or do you think that sort of strength hinders you a little bit because you have a lot of muscle, so you may be a little bit heavier? Or what do you think is there a sweet spot? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't help at all. It's like
That's so funny.
It's like wearing a weighted vest to do everything. It really doesn't help. When I did triathlon, I was like, as I said, I was like 20 kilos, 25 kilos lighter. And I was a way faster runner than I am now.
Yeah, but you were back squatting.
Yeah, I can back squat. So yeah, you do like, yeah, you like if for strength, you kind of, yeah, it does go down. Like it doesn't help it. The two aren't gonna, they could get better. So like, I think, like, as I said, I had really bad knee tendonitis. So I actually wasn't squatting or running. And now that like that pain is like very minimal, touch wood, I've been running and squatting again, and I do expect to see my running and my squatting to get better. But like for me to get better at running and be like an actual, like a competitive runner, I would need to drop strength massively. But for CrossFit, it's fine, you know, like I'm decent enough at the two in CrossFit that they can both continue to get better, and it wouldn't like affect the competition because everybody has to do the same. Whereas if you were just focusing on running or just focusing on strength, like those people aren't also running or squatting. So you do just have to go with the field, and if the field are just running to get better running, like you're also not going to be squatting 160 kilos. So yeah,
it's a hard balancing
just part of the
act.
sport.
Yeah, totally. Like I find it really interesting because like this year they did throw in like the run and the row and the run, and that's really hard when you're also doing a back squat PB. Like it's just wild. Like
Yeah.
Oh no, go on, Jen.
Oh, I was just gonna say like but like we're competing against like 30 other people who are also doing that, so it's fine. So because everybody has to do it, everybody has to work on their back squat, and everybody has to work on their running. So there's like that, almost that level where, you know, you're not going to get someone in CrossFit who's running like a 15-16 minute 5K and squatting that. To get to that level of running, you would need to get rid of the squatting. So yeah,
there's a balancing act, isn't there?
Yeah,
to get a whippet come out.
Yeah, then it's cool that you can come into Hyrox and smash out a doubles, be at the world champs, and like you finished like top. You were quite high up the top, weren't you, at the world champs? Your finished place?
Oh, I don't know. Me and Ella were useless. We didn't know the course. And that last lap, like we should have gotten a PB.
Yeah,
we were
people
awful.
Out.
Yeah,
it called so many people out, didn't it? Who else? Somebody else did it and got really annoyed at themselves. It's like, yeah.
We were like, we probably should have paid a bit more attention to the course before we started this. But yes, we because it changes. That was one of the things I loved about the hybrid games. There is like it didn't change. Whereas like at Hyrox is like the first lap you're going to see in twice, and then all the other laps you're going to see in 4 times, and then on the last lap you're going to see wall balls 3 times. It just changes. I'm like, what? So on the last lap we were like, do we see in 3 times or do we see wall ball 3 times? And we're like running around, obviously like in America, Scottish accent, trying to scream this at people, and they're like, we don't know what you're saying. So yeah, we were like, we had to just stop and ask someone. So we wasted like 30 seconds. But yeah, apart from that, it was good.
That's so funny. And then like talking about, we've got like a lot of people that do a lot of running or have come over into Hyrox. They're really good runners. So like whip it, but they need to get stronger. Is there anything you would say based on that conversation we've just had and like a balance, like any specific movements or any advice you would give them to get stronger but still be able to keep, their running, like anything, any do's or don'ts basically, like
Yeah,
get
I think
stronger?
like if you are focusing on Hyrox, then they're like, I don't really necessarily know, but like you won't do as much strength training as a CrossFitter because it's not as important. Like it's important, but nowhere near as important as what we need it for. So I feel like there'll be like a specific amount of strength training that you need to do for the lunges and the side push and side pull, but there will also be like too much strength training that you could do that would then hinder your running, because a lot of it is running.
Yeah.
Big part of it's running.
Too much for running
Yeah.
for a CrossFitter.
Yeah, like the only way we get better at Hyrox now is like, because if you look at even at like the splits, like we'll win a lot of the stations, or we'll be like top 3 in the stations, and like, but then the running is like 112. So
Yeah.
the only way that like a CrossFitter really gets better at Hyrox is to run more, which we would need to drop a lot of the strength.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whereas I think, a lot of people that are coming into it are runners or ex-triathletes or that sort of thing, and they really struggle. Whereas you go in and probably think 30, not even 30, 20 kilos for lunges is like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And, like the sled push, that was easy. Whereas like some people, that really is like blowing them up, and they're really struggling with that sort of weight and the muscular endurance for that, because they're not used to moving weight at all.
Yeah, and it might be hard for them, but they probably are going to need to sacrifice like a bit of their running ability to build that strength. But if their running ability is so superior that they're like winning the 1K but then coming last off the stations, like they can afford to sacrifice a bit of your running ability to improve on your strength. It's just hard when you've come from like a running sport triathlon and you're so used to being like that endurance fit to then feel like you're going back a bit. But yeah, you need to then kind of build like that strength, endurance, fitness as well.
Yeah, it's like sport specific, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like the biggest balance is probably CrossFit, and then Hyrox is probably a bit more run bias with a bit of strength, and then you've got
Yeah.
your full on endurance sports, like you're running and you're swimming, you're biking, your triathlon, and it's just balancing it all. How about, let's come back to recovery. With so many events on in this year, but also recovery between CrossFit events in a competition, like is there anything specific you do to like reduce injury, to make sure you recover for the next one? Anything you like fuel with, or supplements you take, or specifically as a female, that anything you do that people could maybe take a little bit of advice from for their own training?
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, like a big part of my training is like me focusing on moving better. So I do a lot of movement mechanics. So a lot of movement mechanics will get done as like a warm up, even after the event, like in between events, just to keep like my body moving well. Because I feel like if my body's moving well, then I don't really get sore, because like the right muscles are working and nothing's taking an extra strain over the other. So like with my hip imbalance, it's kind of how I ended up getting knee tendonitis, because one side was taking a lot more than the other. So that for me is massive, like movement mechanics at the beginning, and even during, even at the end. So like especially with this year, I've been in America 5 times and the travel has just been crazy. So like even when you get off a flight, like you're so stiff, and even like then if I'm not training, I'll go and do movement mechanics, so that then even if it's the next day when I'm training, like my body's not just getting tighter and stiffer, up until the time that I train. So
And sorry, just to jump in, movement mechanics, when you say movement mechanics, can you explain a little bit about that? Is that like activation stuff and like glute activation, or working like single leg stuff, or what do you mean by, for someone
yeah,
that
it's quite big in CrossFit, but I don't actually
okay.
know if it's big really anywhere else, to be honest. But it's basically like a lot of stability, activation, and it's like crazy stuff that you wouldn't even think would work. So like
Okay.
it's taken me the longest time to actually. So I seen someone a couple years ago and they were like, oh, everything is coming from your left big toe. They were like, you don't use your big toe and it's coming from your big toe. And I was like, this guy's on something, like he's absolutely crazy. So I didn't really buy into it. So I was like, no, that can't be right. So then seeing like a bunch of physios, and obviously they give you like the rehab for like knee tendonitis. So did all the knee tendonitis like religiously, like exhausted it. Did everything, strengthened my glutes, strengthened all the surrounding areas, never got better. To the point where I was like going to go for like an injection in my knee, and then went and saw another movement mechanic specialist, and they were like, it's your feet, it's your big toe. And I was like, right, I'm just gonna try it because this is ridiculous. That's two people now that said it. I'm just gonna try work on my feet, and the pain's gone. It's the weirdest thing ever. But like, yeah, literally like before my sessions, I'll take my shoes off and I'll do like calf raises, but like focusing on pushing through the ball of my foot. I'll do squats in my bare feet. I'll do lunges in my bare feet. I'll do like stability work in my bare feet. So what single leg stuff, and yeah, my knee tendonitis is like touch wood, the least pain I've been in 3 years.
Wow.
It's
Big
crazy. Yeah,
I
it's
feel like I've got
mental.
really bad feet. Like, well, I
Yeah, you
definitely
do.
have, because like we did a running challenge and we went to a physio and he said, "Oh, can you like separate all your toes?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you pick something up with this, like with your feet?" Like, and I was actually useless at it, and Em was really good. And then I've had like, yeah, plantar.
Plantar fasciitis
It's
as well.
crazy, but like you almost like in your head, you're like, me being able to pick something up with my toes is not the problem with my knee. And you're like, no way, that's not, no. But it actually is. So yeah, like even it's so silly, like toe yoga, like sitting at night with your feet on the ground and just trying to move your big toe independently and then trying to move your second toe independently. So hard. Like I found it impossible when I first started. But yeah, like even doing stuff like that is crazy.
Can you do it now? Like now, you've
Better, but still not
still
great.
no.
Like my sister, she's like big on, she wears those barefoot shoes.
Oh
And she
yeah.
said that like since she started wearing them, like even like her natural toe spread is like crazy. Like her, like in normal shoes, her toes are like all bunched together. She's like her feet are like all spread out now, and like she does powerlifting. She like lifts a ridiculous amount, but she doesn't get knee pain or anything like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, you've inspired me now to sort my feet out. Right,
Yeah,
that's it.
honestly,
Like,
I for the longest time I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not listening to this. But and now that I'm actually bought into it, I'm like, wow, there's a big place for this, and like my recovery and how I prepare for stuff. Because I think when you're in pain, like you if you work
try
through
and
pain, you then just one, you're miserable, but also like so you never really reach your like athletic potential because you're in pain. Um like I remember doing like a thruster workout, and because my knee was sore, like to get down into the bottom of the squat, it was so slow because I was like having to like really edge on the side of caution because how sore I was. So like yeah, if you're dealing with an injury, like you're not really kind of reaching your full athletic potential as much as like I would convince myself like, oh, I'm fine, like I can train through it. Like your mind doesn't really let you. And then even with that, if you like with my left knee being sore, I was then putting more pressure like on the right side to take off the left. And then you end up developing injuries because of that injury as well. So yeah, like recovery for me looks like just making sure that I'm moving well and staying as like best injury free as possible. Um, it's not even like, once I finish a workout, sitting with my feet up and doing nothing. It's actually once I finish a workout, stretching off and doing my movement mechanics and making sure that I'm not tight and seizing up for like when I train again next.
Yeah.
Wow,
Really
that
good.
was such
Yeah.
a good answer. See, I'm glad I asked it now. It's a good job I remembered to ask that question.
Yeah, no, really good advice and a totally different take as well. Like, yeah, really, really nice to hear. Faye, do you have any more questions?
I've got loads, but I know,
But
yeah, I'll keep going.
I feel like we
But I feel
literally
like that was a good one that was a good bit of advice to finish on. And now everyone's going to go into a gym with bare feet and stuff.
bare feet.
Like everyone's going to be like, put your shoes back on. And we're like, no, Jennifer said, this is what I've got to do.
I know.
The only other thing I would say for like recovery and performance is like nutrition. Again, I was someone like when I grew up through like triathlon and swimming, it's probably taken me the longest time to buy into it because I was vegetarian when I was growing up, but I barely eat vegetables, so I just live on sugar. So I would honestly like do my triathlon and then have like a Lucozade and an Empire biscuit, and that would be me, like quite happy. And I'd perform well. Like I was in like the Scotland team, and then when I did powerlifting, I was getting stronger. So like when people would bang on about nutrition, I would be like, I eat terrible and I'm still performing well. And I could never really understand like how it was such a big importance. But the beginning of this year, I started working with a nutritionist, and again, I think it's when I kind of got to like this kind of we're all fighting for like that tiny extra percent now that I've since focusing on nutrition that I've noticed like a massive difference. Even with like my physique, like it's crazy to me that eating more, I actually have gone leaner. Because like to me, I just like calories in, calories out. Like if I eat less, like you're gonna weigh less type thing. And yeah, like the scale hasn't changed, like my body weight hasn't changed, but like my physique's totally changed, and that in turn has actually helped my performance because I'm not carrying as much like inflammation and stuff as well. So yeah, another piece of advice would be like I don't think you necessarily need it like at the beginning, but when you get to like the point where you're fighting for like those kind of extra 1% in sport, then like definitely investing in a nutritionist has been massive for me as well.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because I think, like you say, I guess not a great diet or not a nutritionally dense diet can only get you so far. Like you kind of get away with it for so long, and like I guess being a young athlete as well, your body kind of just lets you abuse it a little bit, but then you only get so far and you do hit this plateau or like you stop. But it's really interesting to hear you say that. And like, have you focused specifically on like the types of food you're eating, or when you're eating it around training, or all of everything?
Yeah, so I think the big thing that I focused on first was protein. I think from being vegetarian, I like was kind of oblivious to like how much protein is actually in stuff and how much I need. So I think it was definitely one under eating on like calories in total, but also under eating in protein. And I think as well, like naturally, I'm probably one of the bigger athletes in the field, like being taller, and I am like a bigger build. I always thought like, I was like, how could I be under eating essentially? If I am one of the bigger athletes. But yeah, having like increased my calories and increased my protein, like lost body fat, but the scales haven't changed. It's crazy. It's another thing like I struggled to really invest in because I couldn't really get my head around it. In the beginning, like, what do you mean I need to eat more if I want to lose fat? I don't really get it. But yeah, having like that kind of guidance and knowledge from a nutritionist has helped massively.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Great advice. So that probably brings me nicely on to my last question, because we could talk for hours, but I'm going to finish off by asking, what message or advice would you give to your younger self or the next generation of girls coming up?
Yeah, so my birthday was 2 weeks ago, and my partner asked me, he was like, do you have everything at 26 that your younger self wanted for yourself at 26? And I was like, actually, yeah. Like, I couldn't really believe it. there's nothing like my younger self would have wanted differently for myself now at this age. And the biggest piece of advice that I would give to my younger self is make time for the things you're passionate about. And like that doesn't necessarily mean that your passion has to turn into a career, because for a lot of people that can kind of kill their passion. But when I was in high school and I went like completely cold turkey with sport to focus on like hires and stuff, as important as that was, like my younger brother, he's just turning 18, so he's kind of that age as well. And when he was going through it, I was like, it's not as important as you think. Like, what's more important is having your stuff that you're passionate about. And like, if you don't know what that is yet, like making the time to even find that. Um, I wish like I knew back then, like there were so many different avenues I could have went down to get the same result from the degree that I got, but I could have kept what I was passionate about at the time. Because when I went completely cold turkey with sport, I'd say that like that was the most miserable I've ever been. So yeah, make time for things you're passionate about, and then if you've not quite found that yet, then make the time to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
that's
that.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because otherwise what are you doing if you
Yeah.
stop doing the one thing that you really love that brings you joy? Like you said, you don't have to have it as a job. But even just making time for it every week, even if it was just an hour, 2 hours a week, at least you're finding that time for you, aren't you? And not just
Yeah.
working away.
Yeah, because when I was in like that kind of teenage age where I was getting my hires to go into uni, like I was just of the impression like, oh, this is where this all, like if I've not made it to Commonwealth juniors by now type thing, then this is where this all stops. Like I don't get to do this anymore. I need to go study and find a job. And like it's not the case at
Yeah.
all.
And like avenues open, don't they? You don't, I think when you're at school, like everyone, I can relate, like everyone's like, oh, you've got to go to university and you've got to do this and you need these grades, and you're like, oh my God, if I don't, I'm just going to be like a complete dropout and I'm never going to be able to get a job, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But
Yeah,
actually you don't realize that like things lead to things. Like you could be a
yeah,
PT in a CrossFit gym, and then that leads to CrossFit, which leads to you being an athlete, which now like you're an Adidas athlete. But if someone
yeah.
had told you to be how to get to be an Adidas athlete, there's no like pathway, and
No, yeah,
you just think, oh
exactly.
yeah, it's like don't panic, isn't it? It's like everything leads to
Yeah.
something, because as long as you're hardworking and you follow your passion and you love it, you're probably gonna do all right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like even as I say, if that doesn't turn into a job, like even the avenues you can find through, like, having it even as a hobby,
Yeah.
yeah, it's massive. So like even like my best friend, she's a firefighter, but she does CrossFit on the side, and she did like sport and nutrition at uni. And through doing CrossFit, she's now like going to start working as a nutritionist on the side. So that's opened up like that avenue for her.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy how many avenues you can get just being involved in the thing that you're
Yeah.
passionate about.
And people you meet as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like you meet someone that goes, oh, you could do this, and you're like, God, no one told me that job existed, or no one told
Yeah.
me
yeah,
that like CrossFit, like you didn't even know CrossFit existed, and someone's like,
yeah,
why don't you go and try that? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. If you hadn't have said, oh, I'll give it a go, like you'd never have made it to the games.
yeah,
Like I wonder what you'd
yeah,
be doing now. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This has been such a good chat and
Yeah,
like
amazing.
a different spin on things. And I think you've given loads of great advice. So we really appreciate your time. And what's next? What's the next competition?
Oh, yeah.
Or are you
So
not thinking about that? Maybe
no.
that.
December, isn't it? The World Fitness Project in
Yeah, so
December.
December is like my next one for like the WFP. But me and Ella are actually taking part in a partner competition in Scotland called Proving Grounds. So we've got that in October, and
Oh,
then
cool.
the finals in December.
Oh, amazing. Oh, wow. A steady ease back into structured training,
Thanks.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been happy having another Scott on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is good.
But yeah, good luck in the coming
Yeah.
competitions and thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much.